Hello, Jordan Chariton live. Status Coup. It is, what's today? Thursday, June the 4th, the year 2026 in the United Corporations of America. I just told my comrade, JT Cestkowski, to my right, I don't think I've ever been, well, maybe I've been excited for live streams, like if I'm about to break a story, but I've never been so giddy for a live stream because it is very rare that you can show the world, and we have people all over the world watching Status Coup, the anatomy from beginning to end of right-wing lies and how quickly they travel at the speed of light from the streets to social media to Fox News and the New York Post all the way to legislation. And I am so honored that we are going to be able to show and expose the right wing. I think grifters is even a little too understated. The right wing charlatans that are going around the country. They might as well be part of the propaganda office for the Trump regime, posing as journalists, and how they lie about good people who are doing the work long before this current ongoing Day 14, ICE prison hunger and labor strike. There have been organizers outside that prison, outside that ICE camp for over a year. And they've been doing incredible work that right-wing charlatans try to basically distort and bastardize to turn it into Antifa. And we now have the receipts and the evidence to expose those motherfuckers. And yes, I'm talking about Nick Sorter, Cam Higbee, and all the rest. So let's get going. Smash the like button. Share this live stream. We have been out there on the ground for 14 days. Today is day 14 of the ICE prison strike, hunger strike, and labor strike. I do have some updates, some positive updates that I'm going to share with you, including the soon-to-be, we believe, imminent release of a prisoner who has been in essentially medical isolation now for 100 days and is in a wheelchair with a serious muscle condition that is now affecting his kidneys. And they have had him in medical isolation and have refused to release him for care. So it seems that this man, I don't want to say his name because I don't know if that's out there yet. This man who has no criminal record is going to be released, which shows you this protest is working. A lot of people are so frustrated nowadays, whether it's climate, healthcare, housing, data centers, that we're just spinning our wheels. Protest isn't working. Well, this one is having tangible effects. We've seen young people released. We're now seeing some of the medically ill released. Obviously, the national and international awareness this has gotten, the pressure on this governor who should have acted basically as soon as she got in office in January, but is now belatedly acting while simultaneously beating the living shit out of protesters with her state police. But JT, before we go, you haven't been here. You might be coming to join us soon. Doesn't this kind of remind you what you're seeing of your experience in Chicago and Minneapolis? I mean, I was out there. It's all a blur, but Friday night when the state troopers rushed us with horses and grenades and flashbangs, I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of shit. I've never had a horse rush at me and basically their nose almost kissed my nose and their nose hit our camera. It was some scary shit. At the same time, to keep the focus on the prisoners inside, that same day, the Geo Group's guards, the for-profit company that made $254 million in profit last year off of this torture, their guards were beating the living shit out of prisoners for refusing to work, which is part of the labor strike. Are you seeing similarities? Because you and John have done more reporting across the country than anyone else from these federal invasions of sovereign cities.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the parallels are so clear. I mean, and it's clear to me also that the corporate Democrats in charge in a lot of these places that should be leading the resistance against the Trump administration's fascist crackdown in the U.S. are all very clearly talking to each other, or at least, silently with a wink and a nod, learning lessons from each other and handling the responses in the exact same ways as well. I mean, because the scenes of violence are the same out there, the way that ICE only knows how to escalate a situation. Protesters turn out, they're immediately met with violence from the federal government, which only ratchets up the pressure and the tension rather than actually doing any sort of inward reflection on how they might be treating the people or how Geo Group might be treating the people inside of Delaney Hall. Rather than doing that, they go out, they brutalize everybody. There is a bunch of organizing in response. The organizing wins out. And just when it seems like ICE won't be able to contain the situation anymore, then the Democrat-led state governments step in, put their own troops there on the ground in the form of state police. That's exactly what happened outside of the Broadview, Illinois ICE detention facility in Chicago. It's what happened outside the Whipple Federal Building just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The same things happened, and the protesters are relegated into designated free speech zones. There's the imposition of protesting curfews, and it's all in this matter to try and keep a lid on the situation. But the protesters only use that as a way to try and it really only galvanizes their resolve, and they continue to come out and to demonstrate, and the state tries to meet them with more violence. But in the end, we have seen in Chicago and especially in Minneapolis, and now you're seeing the beginnings of it maybe here in New Jersey as well, but the federal government actually does capitulate. They have not figured out a way to really, in the face of just continued organizing from these activists on the ground, overcome that kind of people power yet. So yeah, I mean, watching the streams from you and John and Will over the last few weeks, aside from just feeling insane amounts of jealousy that I have not been able to be there on the ground as of yet. Aside from that, I have been, struck by exactly how similar it is. And especially by the way that the Democratic leadership in these places has stomped down on the First Amendment rights of their own constituents, that none of them seem to be willing to do the thing of standing arm in arm with these protesters. We've had a few notable examples out there at Delaney Hall that, I don't know, maybe we'll get the chance to get to here a little bit later. But aside from just like one or two examples, I mean, every single time it is just cowardice from these Democratic governors.
All right, smash the like button, share this live stream. Before I get to the meat of this, which is going to be wonderful, I am going to ask you, I'm going to beg you, and you could see this red mark here. It's from this gas mask I've had to wear for several nights because ICE and the state are basically attacking unarmed protesters, contrary to the bullshit spread by the right-wing propagandists. This is not Antifa. It's not rioters. It's unarmed protesters standing up for people being tortured inside a camp in the United Corporations of America. So please, I am not beyond begging you folks, and I might sound like a broken record, but to be clear, to be live for 14 straight days is very expensive. I'm anticipating the bill we're going to get because we're way over our data plan. To be live, we have a data plan. And we at one night we were live 6 hours and 17 minutes. Most nights we've been live on average 3 to 4 hours. Probably going to get a bill for $4,000 to $5,000 just in overage charges over our data plan. That's before I pay Will, who did great work for us on the photo and video end and on camera. Paying John, who I just gave a well-deserved bonus to. Paying our staff, who I'm going to give bonuses to because they have all been working 17 hours a day behind the scenes to get all this stuff on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the rest. So I need your support. And we're also going to show you later, we're not just telling you corporate media sucks. We are literally showing you corporate media hiding in their car as we are out being bum rushed by horses. Like visually, we could show you that. Corporate media is sitting in their car streaming the attacks by the state while we're out on the ground risking our, frankly, safety and in some cases lives. So please support us. If you can't, no problem. If you can, I'm sure there's something you pay $5 a month on that you forgot you pay $5 a month on or you don't really need. Statuscoup.com/join. We already got some new members while we're live. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Cassandra. And thank you, Cassandra, who gifted a membership too. All right, let's get to this. So, JT, you've seen it, and I've seen it. When we're on the ground, there seems to be this traveling caravan They call themselves journalists, but reports have come out that they're literally these individuals are coordinating with the White House. They seem to be in direct message social media groups with Trump administration officials. They push propaganda from the Trump administration. And unfortunately, they have large followings. And when they come to these areas, whether it be the ICE protests in Chicago or Minneapolis, or most recently in Newark, New Jersey, they don't seem to be actually streaming or broadcasting the actual story about what the protests are about. They seem to be basically trying to provoke protesters to either verbally assault them or physically assault them.
Yep.
I believe for victimhood. I believe to grow their own following and revenue. I believe to add to the narrative that the Trump administration wants to push, that these are Antifa terrorists, that these are violent protesters, that these are rioters, that this is all paid for by that boogeyman George Soros, which the right wing has been saying forever and ever. And I experienced one of these on Friday where one of them was basically stalking my live stream, like jumping into my shot several times, repeatedly lying. We'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. But later on in the night, I saw that one of these people, his name is Nick Sorter. He's one of these right-wing streamers. They seem to love police and ICE and any authority. They seem to like sleep with, G.I. Joe action figures and ICE action figures. And, law enforcement can do no wrong in their eyes. And they kind of go around and serve as like mouthpieces for them, essentially. So I saw that he went into a mutual aid tent that has been outside the Delaney Hall ICE prison since the winter. I've been in there before the hunger strike. So I was able to see what's inside that tent when things were very calm. And we'll show you my tour of it later. But what do they say? Lies travel like at the speed of light before the truth can catch up to it. So what he did was basically go inside the mutual aid tent, which is right outside Delaney Hall. And he basically lied about what's in there. Not basically, he lied about what's in there. So let's show you. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but just so you get kind of the nuts and bolts about his video, which spread like wildfire and this is how it works. They lie on social media, then Fox picks it up. Newsmax picks it up. The New York Post picks it up. The vice president of the United States picks it up. All the right-wing influencers pick it up. And before you know it, you're battling, a gazillion lies. And then the Republican Congress wants to set laws based on lies. Let's show the original video, Colin.
I don't think it's here. I don't think
But that's what I'm saying. If it's new, I'm going to do something to talk about. If someone else is coming to me, and they're not actually going to but I don't know right now what's I'm probably trying to learn myself on time.
Do you know if there's hand sanitizer anywhere? Or wipes or something? I'm sorry, what?
medical tent.
Medical tent? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Go to the medical tent. See if we get... Oh, lasagna! Look at that!
You're back. I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
Excuse me.
I don't know how good these commentary drones are. Whatever.
Medical tent? Is that? Oh, you got it. Thank you. Just need hand sanitizer.
Okay. On that table over next
Sounds
to
good. Thank you.
It was so serious.
I think the audience could be forgiven there for wondering what is so fucking sinister about somebody wandering through a tent, or a big deal about somebody wandering through a tent asking for hand sanitizer and pointing out lasagna. And I would agree, if you watch that and think, that doesn't seem like a story, it's not one. But I have the tweet from Nick Sorter right here. This is how he frames it. Breaking exclusive with the siren emoji, of course, for engagement. I infiltrated the Antifa camp at Newark ICE with a hidden camera, tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, food, and even riot equipment has been supplied. Hot food delivered every hour. Arrest the funders, and this will stop. And then there's the video that we just played.
Could you
right
scroll
below it.
down to see how many retweets that got?
4.1 million views, 50,000 retweets, 156,000 likes.
Okay. So before we get to the whole debunking this insane nonsense and lie, I want to set a few ground rules here. Okay. So, I'm not a dinosaur journalist. I'm not. But I do believe, in general, with few exceptions, if you are claiming that you're practicing journalism, you should probably identify yourself as a journalist. If you're claiming, if that's what you're claiming you're practicing. Now, the right wing who will watch this can go back. I've done some undercover videos where I kind of, in North Dakota, for one example, I kind of pretended to be a right wing journalist. I put on the accent in North Dakota to make kind of some of the racists in North Dakota comfortable interviewing, to kind of get them in their comfort zone so I could show you the racism. But they knew there was a camera there. I interviewed them. They came on to do an interview with me. So you could say, oh, yeah, that's false advertising about who you are. But they knew I was a journalist interviewing them. OK, I have recorded public politicians before with my phone without identifying myself as a journalist. And I put that under the auspices of tough shit. You're a politician. You should know. You didn't say off the record. And it was in a state where it's one party consent, meaning I can record them without their permission. So if a politician is stupid enough to say the truth, because most politicians lie when they don't. But in this case, he pretended to just be, hey, can I get some hand sanitizers? Oh, look at the lasagna. So that kind of shows you what kind of person we're dealing with in the first place. So let's just immediately erase the journalist title, right? Okay. So he goes in there and he calls that Antifa. He calls that Antifa and says there's tens of thousands of dollars of equipment and food and all this stuff. Because obviously he itemized each item, right? To see how much they are. Okay. So this, as you could see, and by the way, I don't have evidence of this, but I think it's safe to say, based on we know Elon Musk props up his own tweets in Twitter's algorithm, and we know that Twitter has basically been rigged to prop up the right wing. It's safe to say those kind of tweets are propped up in the algorithm because Twitter has basically been recreated to be 4chan in tweet form. So that was, in my opinion, artificially propped up by Elon Musk and Twitter's algorithm, because that's how the system works. It goes from social media, then to sometimes kind of digital blogs, then to Fox News, Newsmax, Breitbart, the New York Post, then to politicians, influencers. It's all coordinated. And don't take it from me. Ashley St. Clair, who is one of Elon Musk's baby mamas, I don't have another phrase. She was kind of right-wing in MAGA, but now she's kind of having buyer's remorse. She just did an expose on all this, saying I was in the DM groups with these very people. It's all coordinated. The messaging, as soon as they put this filth out there, it's pushed out by all these players. It's not organic. So it's ironic that the Nick Sorters of the world, and it's not just him, Nick Shirley has done this, Cam Higbee has done this, that they claim none of these protests are organic. It's all paid and secret donors and all this, but none of this is organic. Okay. So then I want to show you, and we're going to get to the debunking, but we have to build up. Then I want to show you his appearance on right-wing propaganda outlet that I'm ashamed to say I worked for in a galaxy long ago. Fox News, his appearance on Fox News, who also didn't verify any of what he tweeted. Let's play that, Colin.
It's through a signal group where they will have people send money anonymously into those Venmos, PayPals, whatever, and they're trying to cloud who is actually funding the entire thing. They're trying to say that it's a community effort, but as I showed in a video that I just posted before coming on air, during that training session where they were handing out $100+ kits to these people, and they've got a $10,000+ setup. out here. Like, it's not like one of those tents that you go buy out at Walmart, right? That you can just set up like a canopy you see at a sports game. What we're seeing are professionally set up tents with concrete anchors in the grass that cost thousands of dollars to have somebody come and set up for you, and you have to have a team to do it. And so it's like, you got to look at that and be like, okay, is that really organic? That is a lot of money to be doling out. I now have two $75 respirators that these people have given me, right? They're doling them out like candy. Wow. So the funding has to be investigated. They're doing their best to cloud who was funding it, though.
It took me all of 20 minutes to investigate it, Nick. I investigated it because I'm a journalist and you're a fucking charlatan. We're going to tell you who's funding it shortly. But it's not a secret, and it's not sinister, and it's not $10,000 of equipment, and they're not getting $100 units.
And also, Nick, if you think respirators cost $75 a pop, you got to get a new respirator guy, man. He's price gouging you hard.
Yeah. So we've established he went in there under false pretenses. Then, I mean, he's not citing sources for any of this information. He's saying there's signal groups for the donations, that they're all kind of this isn't just the tent you get from Walmart. They got concrete barriers and hooks, and you need a team to set this up. It's sinister. Okay, so then I want to first show you. And I know you're saying, Jordan, get to the point. No, you got to have the buildup. It's the payoff is you got to have the buildup. So first I want to show you, because to be clear, the cruelty is the point. And his lies are hurting the organizers who have been out there long before this hunger strike. They've been out there for a year. So I want to show you a video or two videos from the winter when the Geo Group, the for-profit prison operator that made $254 million in profit last year because of torture camps like this that Nick Sorter supports, I guess. Geo Group would not allow loved ones who visit their family members who are held hostage in here with no due process. They wouldn't allow them inside during the winter to wait. So they were forced to stay outside in the freezing cold with their children. Let me repeat. Family members who, in some cases, drive from out of state, long distances, were basically left to freeze outside by a for-profit prison and Geo Group. So let me first show you this.
Hi to everybody who's at home and warm. We're out here in front of Delaney Hall.
I'm at Delaney today, ICE Detention Center. I came to volunteer to help some families out. What I've witnessed today is inhumane suffering that's happening to people in our community.
Consistently, they are tearing families apart. They're bringing the kidnapped here.
There are families here in the freezing cold with children waiting to see their loved ones.
We work with the people who come here. We give as much support as we can in terms of food, water, coffee, anything, warmth, and even just a shoulder to cry on if they need it.
I don't know what happened to us, but this is not it. It's wrong. It's unjust. I want to ask everyone, where is our humanity? We have children in the freezing cold. We are running out of blankets. We need to do better.
So, to anybody who sees this and who hasn't been to Delaney, please come here. Make the pilgrimage. It is a painful one, but it's necessary to see what's being done in this country to human beings.
It's truly heartbreaking. We should be showing up more and coming out here and witnessing for ourselves. We need to be going to offices and talking to our legislators. This needs to be shut down.
You have children, I have children. Could you imagine if one of us was locked up and our wives and kids have to wait outside for hours in the frigid cold to see us for 20 minutes? So that, here we go, one more. So, and smash the like, but we got to get this out there. I know YouTube does not like our channel. They hide us. Smash the like button, share this live stream, leave a comment, create your own social media post with the link to this live stream and push it. Debunking MAGA lies. That's what we're doing here. And don't get me wrong, the Democrats, I'm going to get to a second story because we're going to do an exclusive showing that the New Jersey governor is coordinating with ICE. So we're an equal opportunity hater here. But we got to address the MAGA lies here first. So then I want to show you, not only did he lie on Fox News that there's a secret network of Antifa rich people donating and they're handing out kits and this is base camp. Next, I want to show you even worse. This is from a separate interview, I think on Newsmax he did.
Yeah. No, of course it's not organic. There's nothing organic about it. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and it just shows up. There just ends up being more and more and more of it. And they actually aren't able to get back to their base camp at this point because of the fact that it's behind the line. So all of this stuff is just there in the street. It's probably going to end up in the trash, which they're very upset about. It's been searched, I know that thoroughly, by DHS. And I'm not sure what they found, but they did find stuff that I'm sure they might be announcing sometimes.
First aid kits, masks, earplugs, boxes of tampons. There's just all kinds of supplies here. Like, it's just, look at this, gas masks, whatever that is right there. I mean, it's absurd.
They're $75 a piece, those respirators. And
Are they
they're
really?
handing them out like candy.
Wow. Yeah.
They are literally making it sinister as you see bounty paper towels on screen. Oh my God, the paper towels, they could really poke your eye out. And what's even worse, and in this case, I'll give Nick the benefit of the doubt because this was Newsmax. So I think he's not producing Newsmax while he's live as a guest. They're literally not even showing the mutual aid tent. They're showing across the street from Delaney Hall on the railroad tracks. That's base camp? Yeah, you know why there's masks there? Because ICE was chasing unarmed protesters onto a railroad track while releasing tear gas. Should the protesters just have nothing on their face to avoid tear gas and pepper spray? So Newsmax is literally showing not the mutual aid tent that Nick Sorter just lied about, but they're showing a railroad track across the street that has paper towels, masks, medical equipment, because people are being pepper sprayed and tear gassed after they were pushed into oncoming trucks by ICE. Like, are we in the Twilight Zone? This is some sinister, commie, hippie, violent weather underground camp? While you're showing paper towels and respirators to protect from this paramilitary stormtroopers gassing you? Your thoughts?
Well, I think that you're acting all aghast, like, what are they supposed to do? Not wear the masks? I think that's exactly what the right wing wants, and I think we're going to get into a little bit more of like talking about like the sinister funding behind all of this, or what the who's pulling the puppet strings. I don't think the right wing or the MAGA mind can comprehend not just bowing down and licking the boot of the administration. That if you're going to be out there, then you have to be okay with being brutalized, because they basically fetishize that shit at this point. You have to be okay with it. You have to subject yourself to it, leftist, liberal. And if you don't, then you are a rioter. Just by not allowing yourself or trying to protect yourself from the state's own violence. That is just how the state is supposed to be in their worldview. So if you are protecting yourself from it, then you are an Antifa terrorist. And therefore, everything else that follows must be also from a sinister background, because they're, as we were talking about earlier, their shit on their side is so coordinated and funded by big money interests, always backing up dump trucks of cash to prop up these right-wing media outlets and to try and generate as much outrage and coordinated messaging as possible. They just assume that the same thing must be happening on the left. I really think that I think Sorter probably believes his bullshit, but only because he knows how it works for him and the people that he knows. So therefore, it has to be happening on the other side. He's probably thinking right now that Status Coup is getting some, billionaire funding from somewhere as a way to prop itself up. Like, I think he probably actually believes that. And the idea that you would go out and help a fellow human being through mutual aid, just out of the kindness of your heart, donating whatever you could, I don't think that the right-wing mind can comprehend that. If it's not in my personal selfish interest, I would never do it. Therefore, that must be how everybody acts, and none of this can be legitimate. Somebody has to be benefiting. This has to be in somebody's best interest, some shadowy group's best interest at the end of the day. Otherwise, what the hell would be the incentive to do it? Because humanity can't be one on the right.
Let me just keep it real, folks. Let me just give you some real talk here behind the scenes. Not only do they really believe it, they believe it as they count their bank, as they count the money rolling in, and frankly, they bang chicks on the road. Sorry to be crass, but a lot of these streamers, they have groupies in the right wing, in kind of the Jan 6 QAnon, all this network, and they are deemed the Nick Sorters, well, I don't know about Nick, but the Nick Shirleys, the Nick Sorters, all this. They got groupies, they got chicks, who admire them. I won't give you how I know. Just take it from me. Take my word for it. I know. So the bottom line is, whether he believes it or not, I can't tell you. But there is zero journalism going on here. He hasn't checked one of these facts. He has not looked into where did the money come from these things, because that would actually take time and a process. And they want clicks now. They want retweets now. They want to be invited on Fox News, Newsmax now. Not for any news they broke, but for propaganda. This is propaganda, honestly, no different than what you saw kind of the Nazis and fascists do in the 1930s and 40s. I'm not calling them a Nazi, but the actual propaganda, the misinformation behind it is exactly the same. Now, let's get to the actual facts, shall we? And smash the like button. I see people are signing up as members. We need a lot more of you. I talked to John Farina today, this morning. I'm not going to lie to you. He doesn't sound great. He's been out there for 14 days. He's exhausted. I haven't been out there as much because I hurt my back as the state police of New Jersey fired grenades at us, and I was projectiled backwards right onto my lower back, where I've had 2 surgeries on. And frankly, I'm on muscle relaxers at the moment. And if you're on muscle relaxers, it kind of counteracts it if you don't relax. So I'm trying to go out there as best I can, but I do not want a 3rd back surgery. So I don't know if John's going to be live tonight, but we're going to stay on this. All right. Now let me show, because Status Coup does something very radical for journalism these days. We show up before there's gas. We show up before the rubber bullets arrive. We show up before the tear gas and the pepper spray and the pepper balls and horses rushing in on you. We're there when no other media are there. So we were there, 3 weeks ago at this point. And thank you, JT Cestkowski, for the 5 gift memberships.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jordan. It's a little weird for the host to be one of the hosts to be gifting memberships, but I have the stream open in my other monitor over here, and somebody who gifted memberships gifted one to me just by happenstance. And I was like, I can't allow that to stand. 1, because it calls me out as not subscribing to Status Coup. But then 2, I'm not going to take advantage of the audience that way. So I'm trying to give back. That is not.
That's good of you.
Pass it on.
Thank you. Pay it forward. So we were there, 3 weeks ago at this point, maybe a month ago, on the 1-year anniversary of this ICE camp being open. No other media was there, and it was very quiet and calm. I don't know. We had like 200 live viewers. And they were doing a drum circle, and I interviewed some of the loved ones of the hostages inside. And I don't think it's strong to call them hostages, because when you're basically kidnapped, put somewhere with no charges, and kept there for months and months, in some cases a year, without seeing a judge, if you're not having due process, if you don't have charges, if you don't even know what you're in there for, if there's no process, that you're not a prisoner, you're a hostage. And they let me tour the tent because I identified myself as a journalist, and they let me tour the tent. So let me show you this sinister fucking tent with all these secret donations and tens of thousands of dollars and weaponry and lavish food and all this. Colin, have a good show.
Which one was it again? Which one I'm going?
That is Welcome the Stranger. You were once strangers in a foreign land. And again, they had to fight just to have a tent. They were outside in the cold during the winter, the activists here. So they kind of have like an information board here, food for thought, drop off and pick up property. Dignidad y Justicia. There's my Spanish, not so great, but signs in Spanish, free clothes. Obviously, this kind of becomes cross-synergistic, Free Palestine there. More kind of random items for donations. Coffee, donuts, I think they have pizza here. The Empire could kidnap Joseph and jail Mary, but baby Jesus is still coming.
Yeah.
And hooked around there was the very, very threatening weapon of donated diapers, for families of hostages. Because, you know, gas is expensive and groceries are expensive and healthcare is expensive and housing is expensive. And one part of the economic household is in jail. So the breadwinners in a lot of cases are in jail. So families have been suffering both emotionally, the children, and just economically to stay. So many of the families have GoFundMes because they can't pay their rent. They can't pay their bills. The breadwinners have been abducted. So that was the sinister Antifa base camp that Nick Sorter. So I said, you know what? Nick's tweet said this needs to be investigated. Arrest the organizers, and this needs to be investigated. Well, I put on my hat. I put on my detective hat, and I investigated. Let's read the statement first. This is from one of the lead organizers of the anti-Delaney Hall camp. She is not linked with the protests. You know, Nick has lied and said that essentially this is a tent for the protesters. It's not. It's a mutual aid tent for the families. Kathy O'Leary, she wrote, Essex County, that's the county that this jail is in, provided the tent in January at their expense because they were concerned about people potentially getting hypothermia because Geo Group and ICE were refusing to provide indoor waiting areas for family members who were visiting their loved ones at Delaney Hall. They wouldn't even shovel the driveway of the place that families were supposed to stand outside. Eyes on ICE did not pay for the tent or solicit donations for the tent. We are an unincorporated entity. We don't have a bank account. We have gift cards that we got from churches and synagogues that we hand out to the family members of loved ones. We have diapers that are donated, pantry bags that are donated, and children toys that are donated. Yeah. I called the Essex County. I trust Kathy, but I called just to double confirm. Shocker. The tent, it's not from George Soros. It's not from, I don't know, the Democratic Party. It's not from moveon.org. Name some others. It's not from George Clooney. It's from the local county government that provided it so that people wouldn't freeze to death outside as their loved ones are held hostage in a torture camp. He could have found that out very easily, but he wasn't interested in the truth. He was interested in making viral propaganda go viral for his own benefit. Not only is that sick, it's really sad. We're all human, especially journalists. We make mistakes. I've had to issue corrections before. Fortunately, not many. But if you make a mistake, you issue a correction. Mm-hmm. But if you're a good journalist, the mistakes you make are honest mistakes. This was a dishonest error, an intentional error, because there's zero way to verify the information you're putting out there so quickly. And fortunately, I've been doing this long enough that I could kind of confirm things relatively quickly. And if I'm not confident if I'm not confident that I know to a near certainty something, I don't report it. Or I say it, but make clear this is not verified and this is speculation at this point. I don't post exclusive. I don't know. I broke into the Antifa tent and I exposed a whole network of lavish food and military grade weapons. And by the way, some of what he was showing was not that tent. It was the medical area, the medic area behind. And let me tell you, because I've been in a few of these situations, you need medics when you're being gassed in the face. You need medics when you're being gassed through your lungs. You need medics when you have flashbang grenades being fired off at you. I tell this story and I'll tell it again. I was right next to someone at Standing Rock who had a flashbang grenade go off. They had to take part of her hip and leg to make a makeshift arm because she had to have part of her arm amputated. These are not less lethal weapons that the media reports. If you have grenades being fired at you at point blank range and it hits you, you could be maimed or you could die. Also, when you have tear gas being fired at you and you're wearing goggles to protect your eyes, your goggles get foggy, so you can't see. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of need to see if paramilitary stormtroopers called ICE are bum rushing you into the middle of 18-wheel trucks. The other day, I had what they call a Sophie's choice because I had to choose, do I take my respirator off or do I take my goggles off? Mm-hmm. If I kept my goggles on, I couldn't see out of my eyes. But if I took my respirator off and kept the goggles on, all right, I protect my eyes, but I'm inhaling gas. I took the goggles off, so I wasn't inhaling gas, and so I could see. The medics are there. They're not paid by some secret network. They're not paid. They're volunteer medics. The masks and the respirators, from what I could tell, the protesters are paying for them themselves. Mm-hmm. There are N95 masks, not full face respirators that are there. It could be donations. It could be the local churches, synagogues. But isn't it interesting, JT, that these charlatans, they want to avoid what's actually going on inside of that camp. They want to talk about anything other than what's going on inside of that camp. The fact that prisoners are being beaten. The fact that one had their nose broken last week and had to be hospitalized because he refused to sweep. The fact that 18-year-old high schoolers are in there. One was just released the other day, a female, because of this protest and the demands and the pressure. They don't want to talk about the fact that inmates are being thrown in solitary confinement. They were huffing and puffing that January 6 convicts were thrown in solitary confinement. I guess they care about it if it's a white person thrown in solitary confinement. If it's a black or brown person, they must have done something. They don't want to talk about a man who went in there a month ago with type 2 diabetes and now has type 1 diabetes and his blood sugar is dropping. They won't send him to the hospital. They don't want to talk about the prisoner who's got severe colon disease. They won't send him to the hospital because they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to talk about the hot potato going on where a lot of these people need to be hospitalized, but Geo Group doesn't want to pay for it, and ICE won't pay for it. So it's just a hot potato. They don't want to talk about several pregnant women who miscarried inside of this prison because Geo Group wouldn't send them to an OGBNY. If you're a woman watching, you kind of need a specific type of doctor to care for you through a pregnancy. They certainly don't want to talk about the fact that the guards just released pepper spray last week on the same fucking day that this happened and closed the vents. They closed the vents as they released pepper spray. You know what that's called? Gassing. And these people, these charlatans will say, all lies. This is all lies. Yes, because, hundreds of prisoners are just in a coordinated campaign to lie about their mistreatment. You're either a moron if you believe that, or you are a propagandist. Either one is unacceptable.
And I think that even
to be clear, one more thing. They're not going to correct it. He's not going to correct it.
No.
My guess is what he's going to do is he's going to say, oh my God, it's worse than we thought. The government is Antifa. They provided the tent. They're going to double down on the lie. And now they're going to say the New Jersey government is working with the Antifa terrorists to provide diapers and donuts and lasagna and bounty paper towels. Oh my. Go on.
I was just going to make the point off of, you listed example after example after example of the cruelty that is being suffered inside of that concentration camp. I think they might even be willing to stipulate to a certain extent that some of that is happening. But I also think that they probably think that that it doesn't matter, that these people are just automatically guilty. They are in the camp, therefore they are guilty of these violent crimes, because the Trump administration loves to claim that they are rounding up the worst of the worst. We've got the documentary coming out with the same title around this propagandistic spin that the Trump administration is putting on their immigration roundup. So they are buying into all of the propaganda that if you are inside of that camp, that means you are a hardened criminal. That means you are in some way a rapist or a murderer or pick whatever crime you want to throw on somebody. And therefore, any amount of punishment, regardless of whether or not the charges are even proven, it's guilty until proven innocent here with these immigrant populations, apparently, then it justifies all of that pain. So anything that is going on inside of the camp is inherently justified because only bad people end up getting put in the camp in their mind. So if you are in the camp, therefore you are a bad person. So if you are protesting the camp, then you are ipso facto in league with the bad people. And so that is why they just want to draw the attention. Everything that's happening inside the camp is fine. Look at these unreasonable people outside who are standing up and protesting and trying to back up the bad people outside. And then they will do anything in their power to paint those people as looking bad, not only because of their own personal beliefs, but because of the monetary incentive, because they have all of these right-wing million and billionaires at their backing who want nothing more than to fuel this continuous, never-ending us versus them, wars within the working class. So that way people don't ever start to pay attention to those millionaires and billionaires. That financial incentive exists for him, and he will continue to exploit it ad nauseum. And just to build off of what you concluded there with, Jordan, about how he will double down and say, oh my God, New Jersey is in league, or the county is in league with these protesters. He is probably going to, everything is content for them, everything. That's why they victimize themselves at these protests. It's why they put themselves in unsafe situations or directly antagonize the protesters and try to incite violence or violent responses or situations that could spiral out of them. We saw Cam Higbee not that long ago just pepper spray protesters after he was antagonizing them, then anything to justify him using force on the protesters as well, to try and spur them up even more so that he could go and then run into the arms of ICE to protect him. They're going to continue. Anything is content. So I wouldn't even be shocked if we saw Nick Sordor clip and use part of this exact stream and end up as part of his content proving this, like you championing out, like I looked into it and I did journalism and I found out that it was the county that provided the tent. Look for that soundbite to end up on Fox News here in the near future.
I did the journalism. He did the propaganda.
Yep.
To be clear, he said that there's secret donors and there's a whole network and there's tens of thousands of dollars equipment in there. No, there's not. You know how I know and why you should support Status Coup? Because I was in there and I did a tour and I saw what was in there, and it was donated diapers and donated clothing. And by the way, for the audience, the masks that were in there that he showed, they're masks for dust. They're masks for tear gas, because the organizers of the tent, the tear gas that was being sprayed outside was coming into the tent. It was coming into the tent. So these mutual aid organizers that have been there for the families, a lot of them, to be honest with you, are not so happy with the protests, because the protests, there's been retaliation by the prison to cut visitation for the families. And that's why they're there. They are there for the families and they are there for the prisoners. So a lot of the organizers there, they like that attention is being put on it, but they don't like that the protesters, which it's not the protesters' fault, in my opinion, but they don't like that there's been retaliation against the families who can't see their loved ones. They don't like that there's been retaliation against the prisoners. But the masks that he was showing, most of them are N95 masks or respirators for dust. This area, which Nick Sorter didn't share with his audience, because why tell the truth, is an environmental justice community because it's an environmental dumping ground. It smells like shit, especially when it's hot, and it's very hot today. It smells rancid outside. So that's a big reason people wear masks, so they don't have to inhale the sewer plant down the street, the meat packing plant down the street. That's why there's 18-wheelers going up and down the street, because it's an industrial dumping ground that they dumped a prison. But they don't want to tell you any of that. And, you know, Nick Sorter is a dime a dozen. Cam Higby's a dime a dozen. I've seen these people my whole career. They'll be replaced by a younger band of morons. Trust me. There were a lot of these folks, Trump 2016, that have lost in the ether. So he'll get his short-term 15 minutes of fame. I hope it's worth it. But just know that the lies you're spreading have real damage, because you're lying that this is some terrorist rioter base camp when it's literally run, frankly, no disrespect to the organizers, mostly by boomers who are retired and come out on their own time to help the families of prisoners, to help so that children, when they have to come to visit their loved ones being held hostage, aren't scared. So they have a tent with donated food and donated clothing and some games for them. Oh my. So there's paper towels for the lavish lasagna and the lavish pizza and the lavish Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Shame on you. Go on.
I was, just as a peek behind the curtain, you mentioned the tour that you gave, and we showed the clip earlier. I was the one for Status Coup who cut that clip, and what I cut just before the portion that we played, and I wish now, kind of in hindsight, that I would have included this. I didn't include it because it wasn't visually interesting, but there's a point where just before Jordan is about to take us on the tour through the tent with John, he tells John to stay outside with the camera, and the camera's just pointed at like the side of the tent, because Jordan goes through the, actual work of first, checking with the people at the tent, and he's being very sensitive of the fact of like, oh, I don't want to get anybody on camera that is uncomfortable doing so. Didn't do the bullshit hidden camera thing. Like, if you just go up to the organizers and talk to them and ask them about the tent, they will tell you about it. They would allow you in. You could do the same thing that Cam Higby does. He does the hidden camera thing in the tent because he knows that
Nick Sorter, not
Nick Sorter. Thank you very much. Thank you for correcting me there, Jordan. Nick Sorter does the hidden camera thing inside the tent just to make it look more sinister, that he has to go undercover. But of course, he wouldn't have had to if he were an actual journalist. He could have just gone up and talked to Kathy in the same way that we did, because you and I have both talked to her at this point. And one thing that we've only made some allusions to now, but we haven't really like directly talked about is, the tail wagging the dog here. You've talked about the structure, about how, it starts with Nick doing this video, and then it goes all the way up through the propaganda outlets and ends up with government officials taking real action on this stuff. And that's exactly what happened, because what we've been told is that federal authorities then raided the tent over this past weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was about to share with the audience. So literally, because of this bullshit, and why I say it's coordinated, I'm not in Nick Sorter's direct messages, so I can't say for certain, but there's been reporting that these charlatans are in direct communication with the White House. There is ex-MAGA, Elon Musk, the mother of one of Elon Musk's 25,000 children, has said all these people are in group chats together, and they craft the message and then together launch it like a nuclear bomb of disinformation. Her name's Ashley St. Clair. But essentially, it seems to me they did this intentionally to first create the lie that this is some radical commie Antifa, base camp. And then Trump's FBI and Homeland Security went into the tent the next day, or the day after, May 31st, and ransacked it. I don't have video because my back was fucked that day, but photos were sent to me. They took out diapers.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI, as we have terror threats from here of white nationalists, white supremacists, there's an FBI crew to dispose of donated diapers. They took out clothing. They took out food that they claimed was expired. Yeah, because the FBI is doing the taste test, right? To see if it's expired food. The cruelty is the point. And I promise you there's going to be efforts at legislation now to forbid any type of mutual aid structures outside an ICE prison. Hell, at this point, maybe even block any family visitation. This is why these lies matter, because it leads to government action that is extremely damaging and possibly worse than damaging. And let's go back to the nexus of this. The organizers begged the county for months because the for-profit prison that's housing the kidnapped people wouldn't let the families wait inside. You could say a lot of horrible things about regular prisons in this country, but at least people are allowed to wait inside. These people were forced in the frigid cold to wait outside with their children because this company that the Trump administration is giving massive contracts to, Geo Group, got a $1 billion contract for 15 years for this concentration camp, wouldn't allow them to wait inside. So they committed the crime, these Antifa terrorists, of lobbying the local government to provide a tent, and credit to the local government, they did. Shame on you. So, Cliff Notes, the county provided the tent. It's not Antifa. There's not tens of thousands in weapons or food or anything else. Before this hunger strike, it was fairly empty. The only thing I saw was diapers, clothing, some Viva Revolution signs, some coffee, donuts, and pizza. My guess is what was in there, maybe a couple $100. If you really want to investigate fraud, why don't you look at Donald Trump's stock trades, Nick? Why don't you look at your president, your heir Trump? Why don't you look at his stock trades? Why don't you look at his son getting a $600 million loan from the Pentagon that I'll hold my breath till that's paid back?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you look at his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, his crypto company that is linked to Trump's crypto company, and all of them are making money? Why don't you look at his son-in-law, who's making money hand over fist from the Saudis and Emiratis and God knows who else? Why don't you look at his Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who, after lying about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, just interestingly enough, his firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, placed bets on the tariffs, bet against the Trump tariffs that he was going on camera saying were great, and made, I don't know how much, but millions when the tariffs got reversed. If you want to look at secret networks of financial crimes, there's a lot to work with. You're looking at the wrong side. And to be clear, plenty of corruption on the Democratic side. We're not here to yay, Team Blue. The Democrats are just as guilty as the Republicans. Mm-hmm. They're all trading stocks. They're all doing insider trading, unfortunately, legally. You think Nancy Pelosi became a $100 millionaire based on her salary? You think Nancy Pelosi's husband was some brilliant stock trader, or did he have some inside information from his wife, the Speaker of the House? So it's two parties that are corrupt. But in this case, one is intentionally spreading lies. Now, on that subject, because we got more, and smash the like button, share the live stream. Please support us. I see we got a few members signing up on our website. We need more, folks. Lucas signed up. Grammy signed up. Jennifer signed up. Sean signed up. I see a few on YouTube. Our goal every day, if we're going to stay out there every day live, and we need to. Do you see any other networks still live every day? We've been live all now 14 days of this hunger and labor strike. And for some updates before we show you the next lie, the conditions inside are getting worse. I was told yesterday there's some stomach thing going around among the prisoners, which tend to happen when you're being fed maggots, which tends to happen when the water is dirty. We're being told that the water tastes and smells rancid. So you might get a stomach thing if you're being fed expired food, worms, which many prisoners have said. And oh, by the way, DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen testified yesterday. He was grilled by several Democrats. They're still refusing to allow the New Jersey State health inspectors to go in for a full inspection. I wonder why. If you have nothing to hide, why won't you let the health inspectors in to inspect the bathrooms, to inspect the common areas, to inspect for mold, to inspect for lead, to inspect for dust, to inspect, is medication being provided fully, to inspect the ventilation? They're not allowing New Jersey health inspectors in. And contrary to the corporate media, who's puffing Governor Mikey Sherrill's pillow, her little lawsuit that she just sued for full access, she could have done that 6 months ago. She did it now because she was pressured to. I'm told by the lead organizers, she gave them lip service this whole time. So that's what you get from the Democratic Party, lip service. She didn't lift a fucking finger for these people. For, what are we now, June? For the 5 months she was in office since January. Didn't lift a finger. Neither did Cory Booker. Andy Kim did. Senator Andy Kim, he's been there. Credit to Congressman Rob Menendez. He's been there several times, even before these protests. New Congresswoman Ana Lilia Mejia, who I interviewed before she won, she's been there many times since she got elected and sworn in recently. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, this is her district. She's been there several times, and while pregnant, by the way. But Governor Sherrill, who, by the way, just dispatched her thugs to attack protesters, no different than ICE. And we're going to get to that shortly because we have evidence that the Democratic governor is coordinating with ICE. Kind of, Democrats wonder, why are we losing to MAGA? Because you're attacking your own voters. That's why. But I also want to show, and this is for my personal satisfaction, I want to show Cam Higbee. He's another one of these right-wing charlatans. He was stalking my live stream a couple nights ago. And it was just like a nonstop super soaker of lies that I caught him in. Let's play that. I don't know if we could stop and start it, Colin, but let's play it.
Give me 1 sec if you want to stop and start it. This is the cam clip you said?
Yeah. We don't need to stop and start it. Just play it.
Okay.
He's got Donald Trump's dick so far down his mouth, he might throw up. They're all about law and order, and they're blocking the traffic. They don't have an answer for what was January 6th. Was that that was bad and wrong?
This is the problem.
Wait. Let me ask you. No. Wait. Was it bad or wrong that the president pardoned all of the January 6th? 1 second. I'm not done with the question. All of the January 6th convicts, that he wants to do a $1.8 billion fund to pay them. Was that bad if you condemn what happened on January 6th?
Yeah, I've never heard about the fund, but considering
You've never heard of the 1.8? Wait a minute. You've never heard of the 1.8? No, I'm not going to let you lie on camera. You've never heard of the what? That's literally been the major news story this week, that Donald Trump.
I've been here all week.
No, you haven't. I've been here all week. You have not been here all week.
I got here the other day. I went to Georgia yesterday to debunk AOC's water bullshit.
You've been here all week. Okay.
So,
continue.
Anyway, do I get to answer your question? Okay. So they were held in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day for 4 years with no conviction. So yeah, I think they probably deserved a pardon. Now, do I think January 6th was just and okay? No, I think it was wrong. I think that it was totally abhorrent. I think that they should have gone to jail properly with due process. I think they should have been convicted and then gone to jail, but they weren't. Now, see, when I see violence on my side, I condemn it. When you see it on your side, you support it.
That's a kind of major contradiction, what you just said.
How's that?
So you're saying that the January 6th convicts did not have due process, did not have charges in many cases, and were put in solitary confinement? Are you aware? Are you aware what's going on in here?
Yeah, due process. Every single person who's deported sees a deportation or immigration magistrate. 100%.
So I'm sincerely asking you this. Are you aware that they are threatening and putting people in solitary confinement in there? Are you aware that there are people in here? Wait. Let me finish. So how do you know they're breaking the rules of the facility?
Because they're pressing themselves against the window and flicking the light switches. They're doing it performatively. Obviously, I know they're breaking the rules. Are you dumb? You've been here.
So do you? I'm sincerely asking you a question. I know you're a grifter, but I just sincerely want to ask. I want to sincerely ask. Do you think hundreds of prisoners inside a prison are lying to their loved ones that they're being beaten? Do you think hundreds of prisoners inside a prison are lying to their loved ones that there were maggots in their food?
Yes.
You do.
Evidence you think Jerry Nadler? Hold up, put the mic over here. You think Jerry Nadler went in there, saw worms, and didn't take photos? If Jerry Nadler went in there,
they're not allowed to have their phones in there.
Dude,
are you all right? I can't with this guy.
Bullshit.
Just
Wait.
go back to having Donnie's. He's got Donald Trump's dick so far down his mouth he might throw up.
That's an impressive amount of stupidity in a very short amount of time.
So the reason I wanted to show that is not just for my own ego, although it does make me feel good. I think people wonder, why are we so divided? I think people wonder, why are we so tribal? I think people wonder, why are we so misinformed? And by the way, there's plenty of people that are misinformed on the liberal side too, because they get a lot of bullshit from like MS Now and, more liberal. We're so misinformed because of people like that. And because of big tech platforms like X and now TikTok that's been taken over by the right and CBS that's been taken over by the right, we're so misinformed because we literally have charlatans that are getting the most eyeballs, not because of talent, because of literally oligarchs rigging algorithms to give them the most eyeballs. So I want to just address the lies in order. Number one, it's obviously a lie that he was not aware of a $1.8 billion slush fund that Donald Trump has launched and then backtracked, but now he's for it again for basically reparations for January 6th convicts. Obviously, he knows about that. It was one of the biggest political stories for a week. So let's not. This is like the House Speaker. What's his face?
Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson. Everything is like, oh, I haven't heard that. Oh, I didn't see the president's comments. That's what he's doing there. He obviously knew about it. He couldn't defend it, so he lied. Lie number one. Lie number two, which is just funny to me because, like, you're literally lying about how long you've been here. I've been here all week. He got here, I think, the night before, maybe. I was there all week. I would know if Cam Higbee was there. He was not there all week. So it's just like these people are pathological liars. So is Trump. So they just lie so breathlessly. And they're in their own little right-wing echo chamber. And everyone they're all lizard brains. They're all pea brains. So they just soak up the lies. And no one challenged them on the lies. Like, you're literally lying about something as obvious as, I've been here all week. No, you haven't. So if you're going to lie about that, why should anyone listen to anything else you have to say? Then, listen, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on January 6th, but when you say January 6th people didn't have due process, as far as I know, they all had like prosecutions. There was indictments against them. I believe there were trials. I'm not like totally in love with the justice system in this country, but I don't know like what was not due. Where was the lack of due process? There was indictments. and there were charges, and they were convicted. If anything, it's backwards. They were pardoned way before other convicts who stay in jail for similar crimes. They got plenty of due process, and they got special privilege of a pardon. And many of them then committed crimes, including predatory behavior against children. So this whole, they got no due process and solitary confinement. Okay. Show me a source that isn't Fox News, Breitbart, 4chan, or your fever dreams. Then he says, yeah, they're in there for due process. So I'm sure either he's not aware or he just doesn't care. The majority of the people in there were going through the process that this country told them they had to go through. They had to see their court officer. They had to go to their immigration appointments. Many of them were abducted during those immigration appointments. We've seen it at the federal courthouse in New York City, which we've covered. They were engaging in due process, and then Donald Trump illegally cut that process off. That's what you support. That was the due process. You're not supposed to be, and they're not being detained, by the way. I don't call it a detention center because they're not being detained. They are being held hostage. Many of them are in there for a year before they get to see an immigration judge. That's not due process. There's rules that you're only supposed to be in these places for a certain amount of time. Most of them are held way past that. He doesn't care about that. Why would he care? They're black and brown. He cares about the white people, the January 6th hostages, right? Underneath all of this, folks, is just blinking red lights, bigotry, racism, and 1950s nostalgia, wanting to just rewind the clock back to 1950s. And he loves it because he has a big audience, and he's probably very insecure. A lot of people in media are. A lot of people in digital media are. And that's why they're in front of the camera, not for journalism, not to hold powerful accountable, not to give justice to the downtrodden, to grow their following, to bang some chicks. Sorry to be crass. That's the truth. To grow their following, bang some chicks, and, make cheap coin off of propaganda. But if I went through it more, I could probably count more lies, but I count 4 or 5 right there. And then Jerry Nadler, you don't think he'd take a photo? Do you know how federal or state prisons work? You have to leave your phone outside. And I'm not a fan of Jerry Nadler, but you think if they saw worms, they wouldn't take a picture? Are you that fucking stupid? They don't have their phones inside.
If they're allowed to really even tour the facility at all when they can, because I was outside of the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis when Ilhan Omar and two other members of Congress went in to tour the facility, and they were allowed inside initially, but then within just a couple of minutes, actually word came down from on high that they weren't allowed to be in there, and then got kicked out before they could actually go see where a lot of people were being held. So it's, he's acting like there is perfect transparency around all of this, that if there were something bad, we would have heard about it by now. And you're presenting him, we are hearing these stories about things that are bad in there. Well, those ones are made up. Anything that you bring to me that is a report of something bad is made up. Whereas, so if we just discount everything bad that's ever been reported about this, then there's nothing bad that's ever happened inside of these facilities.
And
Checkmate, liberal.
By the way, the word cult is thrown around a lot when it comes to MAGA, but I think that's visual evidence of a member of a cult. When I said to him, do you truly believe that hundreds of prisoners are all lying about this treatment? Immediately, yes. Yes. That's a member of a cult. That's somebody who either is disingenuously acting stupid, like he knows he's lying, but he's going to act like he believes this, or someone that has just been literally radicalized to the point of believing anything Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, Mark Wayne Mullen, and the rest of the gang say. People who have repeatedly been caught lying and lying and lying. And if it's the latter, if it's just cult mentality, then we're in trouble, folks. Because right now, all the platform, we're in an information war. And the information war has multiple battlefields. It's these charlatans. It's these platforms we're on right now who algorithmically prop up certain content and hide other content. They hide our content plenty. Are these social platforms that boost certain things and hide other things? People believe the main fear is censorship, things being taken down. As bad as that is, there's everyday shadow censorship, and that's these algorithms that are basically picking winners and losers. If you think like Joe Rogan or whatever thrives because people just love Joe Rogan, no, it's because the platforms push out certain type of content, reactionary bullshit, sensational bullshit, infotainment, conflict, and hide substance. So I'm just here to tell you, we're doing our best with, our staff now is 5 full-timers, a few freelancers.
Mm-hmm.
That's paid for by you. But it's going to take a lot more. It's going to take us expanding, and not just us, but more independent journalists. I want to say journalists because journalists these days is kind of used loosely. I don't mean commentators because there's a sea of commentators. And no disrespect, I like a lot of the people in the left-wing commentary, Kyle, Breaking Crystal. But we need actual journalists to fight this disinformation. Because even if we could reach a few right-wingers and pop this propaganda, it's worth it, in my view, including my parents, who I'm going to send this to, who like MAGA. But I just felt it was important, and I know we went long on this particular topic. I just thought it was important because the 50,000 retweets is going to stay up. The 50,000 people who retweeted it, even though a lot of them are probably bots, they're not going to see this. They'll probably see, because I think JT's right, he's probably going to double down, both of them, create new content out of that, because they're not interested in doing actual journalism. They're not interested in calling for comment. They're not interested in trying to acquire documents. Trying to call, JT, you saw before we went live, I was calling for comment to verify some of this. They're not interested in doing any of that. All right, smash the like button, share this live stream. Before we get to the next topic, I want to show you actually some of our journalism, risky journalism. And I want to beg you, if you see the following clips and it doesn't move you to sign up now, not in an hour, not tonight, now. If it doesn't move you to sign up as a paying member to support this very risky on-the-ground journalism, then I really don't know what would. This is not for people who literally cannot afford $5 a month. If you cannot afford $5 a month, I understand. No shame. It's really tough out there. But I'm pretty sure for the 500-600 people watching on YouTube, there's more watching elsewhere. If you really think about it, if you took the 20 minutes to go through your subscriptions, what you pay for, streaming services, whatever things you use a month or a year. I know when I looked through, I found things and canceled because I was like, I forgot I had this, or I don't need it. There's got to be something that you pay $5 a month, $10 a month, because we have memberships as low as $5 a month, which is 16 cents a day, $10 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, etc. If there's something that you pay as little as $5 a month and you don't really need it, or you forgot you had it, I'm begging you, please put it here, because we're not funded by Geo Group. We're not funded by United Healthcare. We're not funded by the right-wing oligarchs, frankly, that I think are funding these charlatans. Who's paying for their travel around the country? Good question. Statuscoup.com/join. Support us for as low as $5 a month. And also support independent media that actually treats their workers well. As we're growing, I'm giving bonuses to my people. Not myself. I'm giving bonuses to my employees because I have this radical thought. If you treat your workers well, they kind of want to stay. And if your workers are working 16, 17 hours a day because ICE and state troopers are gassing us and we're live, so the people behind the camera are working around the clock to get these clips out, you want to compensate them for that extra time. So please support us, statuscoup.com/join. Now, let's be equal opportunity here, JT. You know, there's been kind of speculation and anger among the left that Democratic governors and mayors and, oh, you know what? Before that, I want to show some of the clips. Colin, whatever order we got, show some of the clips of us on the ground during these protests.
And now you see state police coming back. They're coming in through horseback. Through horseback.
Don't let go of me. Don't let go.
I got you. So they're trying to... This is state-sponsored terrorism. Watch out.
Look out. You guys all right?
Yeah. A horse literally just hit our camera. A horse literally just hit our camera. You okay, John?
Yeah, I'm done. Stay here.
They are literally attacking unarmed protesters. What makes them different than ICE? They're shooting from up there? Do you see them shooting from up there?
Yes, that's ICE shooting. ICE is shooting.
All right. Oh.
Don't let go. Don't let go of me. Don't let go of me. Stay, hold me.
So they're releasing.
Please don't let go of me.
Stay away.
Hold my backpack.
So they're doing flashbang grenades. It's ringing my ear. So you see the smoke coming up there. They're firing pepper balls. This is where your money's going, folks. To terrorizing the citizens who are trying to peacefully protest to shut down a camp. To shut down a torture camp. So you see more police cars coming through here. People are saying, "Fuck you, pigs." Does this look like state or federal?
Both.
Yeah, it looks like there's...
I think it's ICE. It's ICE.
It looks like ICE coming through. So the police are literally doing this to allow ICE cars through. So we just showed you the state of New Jersey is essentially working with ICE.
So I don't even know where to start. And I want to be honest with you guys, because I actually like people who are honest when they're scared. I was fucking terrified by that horse rushing at me. There was literally a horse looking me dead straight in the eye, coming straight at me, and I'm seeing the afterlife. Okay? And what you don't see on camera, so John is saying, don't let go, because he's trying to shoot. He can't see behind him. There are cars behind us. There are moving cars and there are parked cars. There are also concrete barriers. So I am having to, while my glasses are fogged up and I can't see, I'm having to basically steer John so he could shoot and basically steer him backwards to avoid him hitting something. We also can't separate because technologically the microphone will not work. My microphone will not work if I am a far distance away from him. So it's kind of like, it's not that like, oh, you know, we're scared, hold on to each other. It's like to broadcast, we need to be somewhat close to each other. But I'm also trying to protect him so he doesn't fall backwards over a concrete barrier or fall into a car, etc. And neither of us can see because there's tear gas. And you don't see it, but I fell backwards when they tossed the grenade, and that's how I hurt my back. And I basically crawled to the grass. So the sequence there, which is important. Well, let's start with earlier that day. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill did a press conference, and she basically said, we need to de-escalate. So I'm going to send the state troopers out there instead of allowing ICE, because the nights before that, ICE every 10 minutes was bum rushing unarmed protesters literally into oncoming traffic. I've never seen anything like it, as bad as Minneapolis was. I mean, you're talking trucks going up and down the road and them pushing people into trucks. We got footage of a protester whose foot got run over by an 18-wheeler and their leg was bent miraculously, they were not severely injured. And both JT and I have reached out to try and get an interview with that person. Somebody could have got killed. We also got footage of an ICE agent intentionally tossing a female protester into a moving white transport vehicle. And you want to know what's crazy about this, JT? You would think these clips are all over the news. Like, you worked in local media, so do I.
Mm-hmm.
They say, if it bleeds, it leads. If it bleeds, it leads. So, but they're not all over the news. Why? Because we're the only goddamn network out there on the streets risking our lives. I mean, I am not exaggerating. We are risking our lives. That is not a dramatic thing. I could have got hit by I almost got hit by a car several times. Hope my wife's not watching. Now, and when it's on TV, when you see it on the news, you know why it's on TV? Because they buy it from us. The networks with budgets that, I'm not good at math, quadruple us, quintuple us, 100. They got probably hundreds of millions of dollars more than us, these broadcast networks. They're purchasing the footage from us because they will not send their people into the streets to do this. And I'm not really shaming them because it is scary. I'm not going to shame you if you don't want to take the risk to be in the streets while this is happening. The shame of it is, as I was there for days and days and days, I literally saw journalists, including a CNN reporter, sitting in their car while this was going on, while ICE is bum rushing us into trucks. And then when things calmed down, they came out of their car to do their live appearances on their network and pretend that they were covering the action. That is like Cam Higbee, Nick Sorter level dishonesty. Mm-hmm. If you're not willing to take the risk, okay. But don't then pretend you are. And these are the people, by the way, making way more than JT and I. Not that we do this for money. These are the people that are considered the mainstream journalists, the ones sitting in their cars while we are being pushed into traffic and have grenades being fired at us. Ali Velshi from MS Now showed up for 10 minutes. ICE or somebody escorted him out, and it gets 1 million views. It's what is it, like the upside down world in Harry Potter? So I want to get to that sequence where you saw state troopers attacking us, then ICE attacking us, then a shift change. I haven't been able to verify 100% whether those were ICE trucks. I'm pretty sure there were, but why we wanted to show you that night, you had state troopers firing at us, ICE firing us simultaneously, and then that row of cars, is because the governor earlier in that day said we need to take the temperature down. We need to de-escalate. That's why I'm sending in my state police. I don't want to give Donald Trump a, quote, pretext to basically turning Minneapolis into, New Jersey into Minneapolis. So I guess her idea of de-escalation is to escalate in order to de-escalate, which is what a few protesters said to me. Let's basically send SEAL Team 6 and the paramilitary New Jersey state stormtroopers out there to unleash holy hell on unarmed people to de-escalate or to dissuade people from coming out. Well, status quo, because we do something called journalism, I learned all that was coordinated, folks. Let me read you the Substack that I did this morning. You could sign up for our Substack for free. Exclusive. Democratic governor coordinated with ICE to brutalize ICE protesters. We learned anti-Delaney Hall organizers got a 15-minute heads up that New Jersey State Police would be arriving before an imminent shift change. Soon, police and ICE brutalized protesters simultaneously. And I want to read you the top of this. We have been live on the ground all 13 days of the Delaney Hall ICE prison hunger strike and protests. Our crew have been injured, that would be me, while being shot at with flashbang grenades, tear gas, pepper balls, rubber bullets, pepper spray, and rushed at by police horses. We've been threatened with arrest. John, the last 2 nights, have been threatened by arrest. Our cameraman, who's got big balls of steel, and basically told him, fuck off. To tell you the truth, if he continues to broadcast, I fear he is going to get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have legal bills. So that's another reason you could support us. But he refused to leave. We cannot afford to continue without gaining at least 100 paid members over the next few days. Please support us for as low as $5 a month. So we're not telling you, we're showing you what we do. And it is risky. So statuscoup.com/join. You get perks as a member. We do a monthly video call with our members. We do behind the scenes videos for our members. You get merchandise discounts. Please support us. Status Coup has exclusively learned that the administration of Democratic New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill coordinated with the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, on May 29th in advance of an imminent ICE shift change and a brutal simultaneous attack by state police and ICE on unarmed protesters outside Delaney Hall ICE prison. A lead anti-Delaney Hall organizer who is not part of the recent ICE protests sparked by the ongoing 14-day prison hunger and labor strike told us she received a phone call from the New Jersey Attorney General's office 15 minutes before New Jersey State Police arrived in full militarized force on the streets outside Delaney Hall. The organizer told Status Coup she was given a heads up from the AG's office that an ICE shift change was imminent and, quote, not to be alarmed, that police would be there to help facilitate the ICE shift change. That's one hell of a facilitating, huh, JT?
Mm-hmm. And yeah. I mean, this is clearly also like conscience clearing for the AG's office that they are calling the protesters. They think they're doing it in their mind. I suspect they think that they're doing it to keep things calm on the ground, to be able to say like, oh, if we just tell them in advance that the police are coming, then they won't be pissed off that like our police are helping ICE brutalize them. But of course, that's not going to change the emotion. You're just doing that to clear your own conscience, to make yourself believe that that's why you're doing this, and not actually being a servant of the Trump administration's fascist project.
Yeah, it's also called cover your ass,
right?
CYA. Yeah. That facilitation by state police turned into a war zone on the streets of Newark. What happened next was a simultaneous attack. I think that part is important. State police and ICE were firing projectiles at the same time. Whether that was coordinated, I don't know. But the facts are they were attacking protesters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
By New Jersey State Police and ICE right before an ICE shift change. We saw state police firing flashbang grenades, tear gas, pepper balls, pepper spray. State troopers on horseback using protesters on their horses, I should say rushing horses, and us. ICE agents in front of Delaney Hall ICE prison firing pepper balls at unarmed protesters, which we just showed you. State police helping to clear out the road for what we believe was a row of several ICE vehicles driving towards Delaney Hall. The same anti-Delaney Hall organizer who told Status Coup about this 15-minute heads up they received from the Attorney General's office, showing New Jersey police were coordinating with ICE, received a phone call the following day on May 30th from the New Jersey AG's office apologizing for the police violence the night before. That's kind of interesting that somebody from the AG's office apologized, considering the governor went out the next day and doubled down on it. She said they had no choice. She said protesters were firing fireworks and making a dangerous situation. I didn't see that. If they were, you could, I don't know, arrest them. By the way, there is an option for ICE and police other than brutalizing unarmed protesters. You could get zip ties and arrest them. I would not be for that, but it's certainly preferable to the violence that could seriously injure or kill someone. By the way, the governor of New Jersey prides herself on being a military veteran. And I'm told by organizers who spoke with people in her office, she basically unilaterally decided to deploy her troops. I can't get in her head, but it seems that she felt militarized response was best, and she's a military veteran. Governor Sherrill's office did not respond to our request for comment. The AG's office did while I've been live, so I'll read that to you. I pointed out also that recently the New York governor signed a law limiting state police from cooperating with ICE. This is why immigration rights groups, progressives, have been pushing legislation to ban any coordination, any communication between state police, state law enforcement, and ICE. And by the way, you could support our Substack and sign up for free. There is a paid option, but there's also a free option, and most of what we put out on Substack is free. Let me read you the AG's statement, which I got live. I can tell you, because I've seen this before, they're lying, but I'll read it to you anyway. Attributable to Attorney General Jennifer Davenport. Last week, we learned federal government was preparing to deploy several hundred agents from ICE and other federal agencies onto the street of Newark, and municipal law enforcement was not engaged. As a result, Governor Sherrill and I made the decision to act in the best interest of public safety. Oh, God. Public safety. Over the weekend, law enforcement seized a firearm, explosives, and other weapons that created extremely dangerous situation for the many peaceful protesters. We take serious all reports of unconstitutional or unlawful policing, and we will carefully review all such reports. I'm sure you will. We will continue to take action, including our lawsuit filed Tuesday against Geo Group, to ensure the detainees at Delaney Hall are treated with dignity and humanity. Notice she didn't answer anything I asked about coordinating with ICE. How did you know about ICE's shift change if your administration, and we like to pretend that the Attorney General is separate from the governor. They're not. They're not. How did you know about the ICE shift change? And honestly, I actually don't think it's a bad thing for the state government to know what ICE is doing, to know when there's a shift change, to know how many ICE agents are there, to know what weaponry they have. You got to know your enemy, so to speak. But knowing and then coordinating with them are two different things. And to be clear, the timing of this, they sent in the troops to rough up the people right before ICE changed shifts. The effect of it was to clear out the road. They cleared out the protesters by violent, brutal force. And it was a sea of medics and a sea of injured people, or as Nick Sorter calls, Antifa. So I want to be very clear to the audience. You do what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I think Donald Trump needs to be removed, and I think these MAGA Republicans need to be removed. But when people ask, how does MAGA win? When people ask, how does right-wing phony populism, fascism thrive? We're showing it to you. Do you know if you took a poll in the streets that night of who those protesters hate more, the governor of New Jersey or Donald Trump, it would be a 50-50. And by the way, it's not just the protesters in the street. It was spreading on social media like lightning fire. What is the Democratic governor of New Jersey doing? And now there's talks of a recall. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's in kind of preliminary talks. I'm not saying being a governor is easy. I'm not saying you don't want to take action to prevent the fascist president from turning your state into Minneapolis, but you don't do that by sending your troops to basically mimic ICE and violently attack people. That's not the answer. JT, your thoughts, because we're exclusively showing that the New Jersey governor is coordinating with ICE.
Yeah,
at the same time, she's saying this camp needs to close and ICE need to leave New Jersey.
Yeah, I think that my initial reaction is to say that at the very minimum, this is a crisis of collective action among Democratic governors in this country that have been victimized by the Trump administration. They all seem to be of the mind that if I just keep quiet, if our state doesn't fight back, or if our state actively works with the Trump administration, then this will all just go away soon. But as you saw in Illinois, in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, these operations can continue on, and the protests against them can and do continue on for months and months. There are still protests happening on the ground in Chicago from last fall outside of that ICE detention facility. People still get arrested outside of that ICE detention facility from trying to protest it and pushing back against the same, free speech zones and everything that's happening out there, all because the governor there, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, also a Democrat with presidential aspirations, by the way, and a billionaire, wants to seem to just be taking this approach of, I will send in my own Illinois state police to interpose themselves between the protesters and the ICE agents so that the ICE agents can more freely carry out their job. So none of their agents have to be spent on security or on crowd management, which is why the protesters are there in the first place, by the way. If you actually ask them, what are you doing out here? Or what made you want to come out here? So many of them at these different protests, I've been in Chicago and Minneapolis, have both said, so long as they are out here dealing with me, then they're not out kidnapping my neighbors. So by actively putting your own state police there on the front lines, you are making it easier for the federal government to do their job, in hopes that that means that the federal government won't continue to victimize your area. No, you've been picked for a reason. You are being victimized because you're a blue state. There is nothing that you can do now to try and appease Donald Trump and appease all of the lackeys in his administration and the true right-wing crazies like Stephen Miller, like the fascists of the fascists in that administration. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to actively appease them and make them back off and say, actually, you know, this state or this place is good now. We're going to continue to victimize you so long as we continue to get the headlines that are red meat for our base. And our base is afraid of places like Chicago and hates Tim Walz and the blue people up there in Minnesota and in the New York and Newark area. So this victimization is going to continue to go on. I would hope to see a Democratic member of the opposition party somewhere in this country that has the position of power, like a governor, like an attorney general, to stand up and say, we are actively going to prosecute as many of these agents for the crimes that they are committing against our citizens on a daily basis, the violence that they are committing in these communities. But they don't. They never do. They just keep hoping maybe they'll move on and hopefully they go victimize some other state and the spotlight can come off of me because I don't want to have to be brave in this moment. That's the theme that I see running through all of these states, is just that cowardice, that abject cowardice on the part of the Democratic leaders in all of these places. And they keep taking cues from each other. They keep learning from the state that came before, and they're just speed run the way that it went last time. What happened in Delaney Hall is just a faster version of what happened at the Whipple Federal Building outside of Minneapolis. And what happened in Minneapolis was just a faster version of what happened outside of the Broadview ICE Detention Center in Broadview, Illinois, just outside Chicago. They're just learning from each other in all of these places and speed running it, clamping down on First Amendment rights faster and faster in hopes that they can bring these situations to a close faster, when in reality, the only thing that Donald Trump truly respects at the end of the day is somebody who can beat him or can outflank him politically. Otherwise, he doesn't give a damn about you. He's only going to keep taking more if you don't stand up to him. I mean, how many times throughout history have we seen bullies act in that way, that you have to stand up to them at a certain point? But this version of the Democratic Party does not want to do that. And these governors apparently don't want to do that. It is easier for them to brutalize their own constituents and weaponize the constituents' own state apparatus against them. It's easier for them to make that decision than it is to try and do something even with like the smallest shred of humanity or sense of justice in their soul, to actually try and work on behalf of their constituents against the federal government.
JT, I'm going to put you on the spot, but I have to go pick up my kid, and I do want us to go through a couple more of these clips.
Yeah.
So if you could stay on, this is not anything new to you, so I'm sure you could react to the clips. But before I go, I want to say a few things, and don't go anywhere because you got to see these clips if you haven't. Number one, he's not here, but we have to give a huge shout out to John Farina.
Yes.
John Farina is our cameraman. He's more of a cameraman. He's really a soldier. And what I mean by that is John rushes into the danger. He doesn't rush back. And John, he doesn't like being on camera. He would never tell you he's a reporter because that's not his skill. But his skill is holding that camera and getting the shot. His skill is showing you what the fascist state is doing. His skill is somehow, as he's being bum rushed by a Trump mob at January 6th, with almost, cracked ribs to show for it. He cracked his ribs on January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Still getting that shot of that officer's head rammed into the door. His skill and passion is showing you up close this fascism. And, when you're not on camera, you don't get the spotlight. You don't get the accolades from people. But John deserves it equal, if not more, than I or JT. And he's been around the country for over a year. He's been living in these places. And he's sacrificing. He's got a kid, and there's many weekends he's away from her. There's many periods he's away from her because this stuff matters to him so much. So please give John some love in the chat. Cards on the table. I would really like to give John more money, but unfortunately, we don't have corporate funding.
Mm-hmm.
So if part of what growing our membership is about is not only to expand and hire more people, but it's to pay the people we have more. So thank you to John. I'm not positive what the deal is tonight. I told him that because last night I could tell he was really struggling just to be live. I mean, he's exhausted. He's been out there every day for 14 days. He's slept in his car overnight at Delaney Hall several times. He's not really getting much sleep. And these are not leisurely, interviews he's shooting. He's running from grenades and tear gas. So I told him, we kind of expect it's still going to be busy this weekend. So I said, I think the audience would understand if you take a night off. But it's John Farina, so he's not really one to take a night off. But I'm not sure if we'll be live tonight. I'm going to encourage him to take the night off. Whether he will or not is up to him. We have a lot more reporting to show you. We're cutting a lot of these clips from hour-long live streams into shorter clips because obviously you want to get it out to as many people as possible, and not everyone has 6 hours to watch a live stream. So please spread this channel, spread the word. And I truly ask you, if you can, support us. Statuscoup.com/join. I think that we're just in an endless sea of bullshit. There's just everyone has a channel and a Substack and a TikTok, and everyone's an influencer, and it's just diarrhea of content, and most of it's junk. But there is so few independent outlets actually doing guerrilla journalism. And think you could help build that for 16 cents a day. We're not asking that much. Statuscoup.com/join. Take us home, JT.
Thank you, Jordan. I got it. All right. Okay, just you and me now, chat. So now we get to have real fun because the boss isn't here, so we can talk about all the real stuff. But yeah, Colin, I'm curious, since we're just talking about John, we've had to put up a few clips on Twitter. If we don't have one ready right now, I will go and grab it. But do we have anything available right now that we could put up of John being a badass out there?
I'm pressed.
It doesn't matter. Go.
Okay, why does it matter? I'm pressed.
All right, keep it going. You're not coming this way.
Don't tell me.
I'm telling you, you're not coming this way.
Here.
You cannot. You can be right there. You ain't going nowhere else. So.
All right, so we have Newark Police again restricting press. We are going to add this. We are going to add this to the lawsuit.
Okay.
We have a lawsuit with them. They're a very big lawsuit.
Okay. Have a good one.
What's your badge name?
My name?
Yeah, and
it's
badge
Smith.
number?
Right here.
Smith.
2227.
2227. You?
Yep.
Don't matter.
Oh, it does matter. Name and badge number. It does matter. You have to give it to me. Excuse me. What's the name and badge number?
John Farina is fantastic, just balls of steel. And I tweeted this out right after we put out that clip of him, because that's not the first time he's had an interaction with the Newark police like that outside of Delaney Hall. There have been now several run-ins with John and the Newark police where they are trying to actively restrict where press can and cannot be in an effort to control what we can and cannot show. There were police at one point were trying to get press to go, well down the street from where the protests were actually happening. Apparently, it seemed to me in an effort to try and make sure that cameras couldn't get close-up shots of how the police would be treating the protesters. And, anytime that police have tried to give John an order, he knows his rights. He says, cite me, what law, what ordinance am I breaking by standing here? And if they can't cite one, okay, I'm not in violation of the law, so I'm good to keep being here. You can act like you have authority over me, but I am here as a journalist to get this story, and that is important, that we get out the real story of what is happening here. And he asserts his rights and faces down in these really high-pressure, tense situations when he is concerned about his own safety, the safety of the reporter that he might be paired with on the day. Oftentimes that is myself, though recently it's been Jordan, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit here in just a second as well, about how we've been staffing all of this. But all of that work that John does is just incredible, that he manages that all at once. And I said this just like I was setting myself up there to say, right after we put that clip out, I said, I don't think there's another on the ground journalist right now doing more to advance and assert the freedom of the press than John Farino right now. So he is just amazing. So I love to call that out. And I know John sees the work of what he is doing there as super important. But yeah, it just goes to see how you see, when push comes to shove and these elected officials and the police that they control have to make a decision of, are we going to stand with the people out here who are protesting, or the people inside those concentration camps who are on hunger and labor strikes? Are we going to stand with them, or are we going to stand with the fascist project in this country? They choose the fascist project, and they have every time in all of these communities where ICE has been carrying out these deportation raids, or where these flare-ups have happened, where people stand up and say that enough is enough. We want justice. We want what is right here. Why is it that the elected officials every single time direct police, and the police willingly every single time stand on the side of ICE and these immigration officials? Colin, dealer's choice on the next clip, whichever one's your favorite. Go ahead and play it.
I saw you. What were you yelling at the guards?
That they need to let all these people out. If they're such big and bad, why don't they just take their mask off? They want to work here. They want to work here. They want to work here. So let them show their face. They should show their face. They want to work here? Then show your face. Why are you so scared? Why? There's nothing to be scared of. We're all here. We're all here to just see our family members. We're not here for trouble. We're not here for nothing. We're just here to just see our family members.
I wish Jordan were here so I could interview him to ask him what it felt like to interview that girl in the moment, because I know when I've talked to young kids who are out at these demonstrations and in some of these places that are, that can turn hairy and dangerous, where there is that threat of the federal government using force. I think about when I was outside of the Broadview, Illinois ICE detention facility on November 1st, and there was a 6-hour face-off between protesters who had advanced outside of the free speech zones that were set up there, and they were being stared down by state, local, and federal authorities on the other side, and there was repeated threats for violence from the side of the authorities. And I was interviewing, I think, a girl who was as young as 12 who was out there and was able to say, like, what is happening out here is wrong. And I think that always when you hear it, when a child can look at a situation and know what is just and what is unjust and call it out, it is humbling. It's something I think about a lot now as a relatively new parent at this point. My daughter is 9 months old. She is just starting to say her first words here over the last few weeks. Like, I start to think a lot about how am I going to explain the world to her and how it acts, and how is she going to see the world, and how is she going to react to the things that I am doing and we as a society are doing to the world that she stands to inherit. Because these kids, it's not lost on them. I've interviewed so many in these cities that have been victimized and played host to these ICE occupations, where they say, like, I don't feel like I get to have a childhood. Politics came for me, and now I have to, for the benefit of myself, my friends, my family, my neighbors, my peers, I have to stand up in this moment, and I have to become an adult very quickly to understand these situations. These are themes that play out across all of these different scenes. So whether you just started following Status Coup because of our coverage on the ground outside of Delaney, or you have been with us now for the last year that we've been covering the Trump administration 2.0's fascist crackdown, or you've been with us since Jordan founded the outlet years ago, I want to impress upon you, if you've been with us a while, you probably understand those themes. Or if you've even been with us just over the last few occupations, you understand those themes. But I want, for all of our new members, I want to emphasize that what is happening here is part of a broader pattern that goes back through all of these places. That the way that the New Jersey governor is handling that situation, if you think that's awful and offensive and think, oh my God, she must be a bad egg, that's why I'm here to tell you. It's the same as what happened in Illinois. It's the same as what happened in Minnesota, where the authorities there came in, even the Democratic governors in these states backed the administration de facto, even though they might have stood up and said words into a TV camera from the cushy comfort of one of their offices or their state government building. They sent their police out into the streets where the people were to brutalize them and to round them into pens and to make sure that ICE could freely do its job. These are themes that play out across states. This is not to say that the Democrats are the exact same as the Republicans. That's not what I'm saying. And I know that people who point out Democratic failings often get put into those buckets of, oh, horseshoe theory, you're no better than a right winger, vote blue no matter who. Well, are you any better than a right winger if the politicians that you're voting for and supporting end up backing the same fascist project and putting the same resources behind it? Question yourself in that way too. Don't play team sports here. Demand something better of your leaders, and that is what good journalism should do, and that's the kind of journalism that we like to do here at Status Coup. And if you can, support us like Diane has done. Diane became a YouTube member. Welcome, Diane. Thanks for being with us. And I actually want to take a moment here to actually call out some of the super chats that we have gotten. When anytime you're able to scrounge together, even if it's just a buck that you can send us through a super chat, I will. I like to highlight your comment because it does support us financially here at Status Coup, and because we are just funded by a groundswell of people coming together and saying that this is the kind of information we need, the kind of news source we need, somebody who isn't afraid to go on the ground in these places, somewhere that isn't afraid to call out bullshit, that is centering economic and justice journalism, a journalism that is built around the vast majority, the working class, and centered on those issues, and doesn't do the both sides bullshit and isn't afraid to make enemies in order to accurately report a story and do critical journalism. Because we've got to scrape together every dollar that we can. Know that things like giving $5 Canadian from Emily Sigmund also goes a long way. So thank you, Emily. Your comment was about the Nick Sortor situation that we opened here with, was diapers, lasagna, and hand sanitizer, etc. is thousands of dollars of equipment, and people saw that and ate it up. People have zero honor. Yeah, couldn't agree more. That just the fact that there is this pooling of resources that ends up totaling something that is not insignificant, because it does make a difference in people's lives, like outside of Delaney Hall, where families were getting access to, diapers and support and any resources that they might need from that aid tent that Nick Sortor went into. yeah, that is somehow characterized as being sinister just because it represented, by the way, that tent was not just established for the protests, right? We've talked about this. That tent had been there for over a year. Well, the tent hadn't. They had actually been outside without a tent for a long while until they were able to start getting the tent. And then they were just setting it up overnight and taking it down. Or they weren't setting it up overnight, excuse me. They were taking it down every night and setting it up just during the day, every day. And then it had to become a 24/7 operation once the protest started so that they could continuously support the people who were out there, anybody who might need anything. But to act like the year of organizing, and they had like 500 people, and I'm told by Kathy, the organizer, 75 of whom really were active contributors to the project, that just over the course of a year, they had managed to build up a little bit of a repository of stuff. Suddenly, oh, that's sinister. The fact that they have tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I don't know the total of what everything inside that tent was worth, but yeah, they've got some built up resources because they've been contributing to it. Everyday people, hundreds of them have been contributing to it over the course of a year. So thank you, Emily, for your gift there and for your comment. And then Emily, you gave another $5 Canadian and said unofficial aid networks may be the way to go with helping people. No one admits the network even exists. They just make sure donations are delivered. Trust me, the right-wing grift machine is going to find a way to take issue with that too. The problem is not that with the level of organization or whether or not something is officially sanctioned or not. The problem for them is that there is resistance to a state apparatus that is meant to oppress and impose their worldview on the rest of the country, whether you like it or not. And any form of community activism or resistance is going to get that Nick Sortor treatment to it at some point. We're going to just keep trying to call it out here for what it is, which is blatant propaganda. The fact check never goes as far as the misinformation, because what we're talking about here is never going to end up on Fox News the way that Nick Sortor's claims did, and his lies and his propaganda do on a regular basis. But we're going to keep trying to call it out as much as we can. Thank you so much for that. I want to call out My Love Nebraska, who gave us $6 and just said, thank you for your reporting. Thank you, Nebraska, for your $6. As I said, every single dollar helps us as we're constantly trying to add people, add staff here at Status Coup and build out what we're able to do. I don't think I'm blowing up the spot for Jordan when I say that, like, we're trying out like a short-term social media position that we just I think Jordan has officially picked somebody for. We're going to be trying that out over the short period to help us get out more of our content to more eyeballs and more people, to help more people reach it. But we're only able to get there through donations like this. So thank you, My Love Nebraska. And then we're hoping, if it works out and the funding and it all makes sense mathematically, that we're going to be able to keep that person on a permanent basis. And then I also want to call out Neil Whitington 2023, who gave us $5 and said, this is what we get when we confirm an insurrectionist into the Oval Office, which he is disqualified to hold. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, plus 34 felonies. I mean, the cliche is voting has consequences, right? Elections have consequences. That's what happened. We had an election in 2024. The Democrats tried to shove Joe Biden down the gullet of the electorate. You're going to get him whether you like it or not until the very last moment. And then he got swapped out for Kamala without any sort of competitive process. She showed some hints of wanting to run an economically populist campaign, at least in verbiage and in some ways, some limited ways, right? But then immediately, nope, pivoted to gotta try and win over some Republicans. So let me throw my arm around Liz Cheney, who has a constituency of 0, and hope we can win the election that way. And wouldn't you know it, that didn't really ring true for the electorate. And now, because of those failings, we've got Donald Trump and the pain that is being inflicted on so many because of that. And then I also want to welcome Passing Place, who just became a YouTube member. Thank you, Passing Place. And a reminder that the best way to support us, while we still appreciate people who become members through YouTube, the best way to support us is through statuscoup.com/join, because YouTube is actively trying to suppress left media right now. I'm not kidding. Our channel and many others across the space, across our the progressive ecosystem, have reported that yes, our views are tanking. We on our produced videos that they are being actively suppressed by YouTube right now. So it is because that YouTube could come in at any moment and just decide that nope, not this channel anymore, and turn off the light switch on us on any day. That's why we like having the memberships through the website, because it also gives us your email address so we can let you know if something like that ever happened. Like, here's how you can find our stuff, or here's how you could continue to support us and help us build up something new somewhere else. And that's also why we're trying to build up presences on other social media right now. So go around and follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on Blue Sky, on Twitter, now called X. Follow us on these places just in case of that. We like to be diversified in that way. And I should say subscribe to us on Substack as well for that same reasons. That way YouTube couldn't just turn out our lights, and that's why we like to have your memberships there. So statuscoup.com/join, and the Status Coup Substack.com. Thank you, Colin, on the ones and twos there for putting up the Substack link as well, that you can type in just to quickly go and get subscribed to our Substack. But enough with me blathering on. Let's actually play some of the on-the-ground journalism that we risk life and limb and put all of this investment towards getting at the end of the day. Colin, please play your next favorite clip, if you would.
I got you. They did that to us.
They targeted us specifically. They just targeted us specifically. They threw it at us.
Okay. Give me a microphone. Go back. Come back to me, okay? All right, guys, that was directly at my feet. I know that was intentionally targeted at me. This is a war zone on American streets in Newark, New Jersey. I have been at many war zones across this country: Chicago, Minneapolis, and now New Jersey, and soon to be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that it was Jordan on the mic at first, then he hands it off to John because you can't handle it. But yeah, they're targeting press directly with their munitions, targeting us at Status Coup directly. And by the way, if you think that the authorities don't watch us, I can guarantee you that they do, because Greg Bavino, when he was in charge of those roving bands of Border Patrol agents who would go around cities like Chicago and Minneapolis and Charlotte, where we were, and terrorize people, he would tweet at us on occasion. And they also, Department of Homeland Security and ICE, stole our video on one occasion and just used it. So they were clearly watching our stuff, and the authorities do watch our stuff, because if they want that on the ground perspective of what is happening, just like in the way you find value in it, they, in a much more twisted sense, also find a value in it as well. And just so I don't forget, because Pat, I saw you, Pat C. Lucas gifted one membership earlier in the stream, and then had the decency to go and do it a second time an hour later. So Pat, but I just skipped over you both times in the queue, and I didn't want you to think that I was ignoring you. So Pat, thank you so much for gifting those memberships. And maybe if you're out there and you're the beneficiary of one of Pat's gifted memberships, hopefully you see the value in what we offer here at Status Coup and consider becoming a member yourself. I'm going to throw up a few more of these super chats because I put the call out for him, and then you guys started delivering here. So first we've got Michael, who gave us $5 and said, saw this. ICE is quietly rolling out a 55 billion crematorium network. I have not seen that, Michael, so I will have to look into that. If you've got a link or something, email it to me, jtceskowski@statuscoup.com. Otherwise, I will be searching it right after this. I don't want to speculate too deep if not knowing anything too much on it, though we do know that people have been dying in ICE custody, many of them, so many that I could not even give you all the, not even the people who are just being like executed in the street, the Renee Good, Alex Preddy's, Silverio Gonzalez's of the world, but also people dying actually in the concentration camps themselves that are being maintained by our federal government as part of this deportation apparatus. And yeah, body disposal becomes a consideration, as an unpleasant consideration as a part of that, when you are just holding people and denying them access to medical care and they are dying on your watch. Then we also have the Exposure Report, who gave us $5 and said, if John needs a night off and you need a cameraman, I can do it. I have been out there the past 4 nights. If not, feel free to restream my live. The Exposure Report, thank you. Sounds like you're doing some on the ground stuff over there. I appreciate that. I'll have to look you guys up, and if you're if that's a serious offer, please reach out to us at info@statuscoup.com. That's really the best way to get. Jordan checks that email quite often, and we like go through and evaluate some of that stuff. And yeah, like we still partner with Andrew Mercado of Mercado Media up in Minneapolis to be able to stream things that he's at that I can't get to up there in a timely and reasonable fashion. So we do look for those partnerships where it makes sense. So we'd have to take a look at your stuff, but if you want to email us, we really appreciate it. And thanks for the $5. Independent media, helping independent media, and hopefully us throwing up your name there. The Exposure Report maybe gives you a little bit of exposure to your reporting as well, and hopefully we can scratch each other's backs. And I'll be looking you up after this as well. I wanted to point out in that clip that we just played, where we're being assaulted there by where our camera is getting actively assaulted by ICE and everything that is going on that out there, that we I'm seeing a lot of love for Exposure Report in the chat too. Okay. All right. Definitely gotta check them out then. All right. So but anyway, with all of the violence that was being subjected there, you heard John get on the microphone as Jordan has to step away, because this takes a physical toll. I mean, Jordan was talking up the toll that it was taking on John, that John is exhausted and probably needs a break. And we've been offering John that, but he is such a soldier that he oftentimes feels like, no, I got to keep going. Like it's for the greater good that I do this. And we're just like, John, you can't save the world all by yourself, man. Like trying to get that through to him. I mean, it's tough because he is that mission driven. That said, John, if you're watching this, don't take that as a challenge. Absolutely take the night off, man. Please. We need you down the line. But not only so Jordan's talking up, the abuse that John is taking. I got to talk up, because Jordan isn't apparently going to do it for himself, the abuse that he is taking out there. That is something that we have talked about internally. I should be the one who is out there. I am the traveling reporter for Status Coup. I am meant to be the on-scene reporter. The fact that I was not out there was kind of a combination of bad timing and Jordan being incredibly generous to me. I got an opportunity to interview a bunch of gubernatorial candidates here in state of Wisconsin to host a forum that was put on by a bunch of labor unions. And I was interviewing them, and the timing came up where I was in the depths of my preparation for that, of coming up with all of the questions to host that event, right as Delaney Hall was ramping up. And so Jordan just stepped in first because he lives closer. So he started covering it. But even as it started to take the physical toll on him, and he's got, I don't think he'll, he's got like back problems that he's been pretty open about. So he, that started to become an issue for him out there, and yet he still soldiered on. And when he finally physically couldn't do it, Will took over, and I actually stepped in front of the camera, and Will is generally a behind the camera kind of guy as well, but he graciously stepped up and stood in front of that camera, all so that they could give me the opportunity to just benefit the people, like my friends and neighbors, the people here in Wisconsin, with that interview of those gubernatorial candidates that I did. And that is just like the team effort that it is here at Status Coup. I want to really recognize the fact that they, out of the goodness of their hearts, just to try and make there be even more good in the world, say, JT, you're doing that journalism out there, stay and do it. We'll hold down the fort out here for now. And now we're talking about maybe bringing me out to New Jersey. We're keeping a close eye on the situation. But the fact that they allowed me to stay out here and do that event was just a testament to the team stepping up to support me in that moment, and take do a lot that was physically demanding of themselves. John being solo out there like he was last night, Will stepping in front on the mic, Jordan, potentially exacerbating his back problems. Like, that is not lost on me, and hopefully it's not lost on you guys either, that this job that we're doing is not glamorous. Though I think a lot of people assume that. I mean, this is just brutal stuff that we put ourselves through, and it's all because we believe that it is important work. And to that end, let's showcase some more of that important work that the team has been doing in my absence, that I get to now talk and brag all about the work they're doing. Colin, another clip, please, if you would.
They're firing flashbangs. They're pushing. We're trying. Hold on. Yeah. We're trying to avoid the barrier there. They just fired, I think, a flashbang grenade. And they literally are pushing protesters right into the so-called free speech zone. This is not protecting protesters. Oh. So. They just released something. They threw tear gas directly at my foot.
I mean, and we can play clip after clip after clip of that violence out there. I mean, if you've been following along on our lives, I mean, you've seen it with your own eyes, right? But it's just like, I want to point out other similarities there. That lineup of cops, they've got shields. I've seen them do it with batons in Chicago, or just in riot gear in Minneapolis. But these are the themes that we see play out time and again. The police use the same tactics in support of the administration every single time, with the backing of the Trump, or with the backing of the Democratic administrations. That same tactic of moving the protesters back, forming a line like that, and then either kettling them, as we saw happen on one night out there at Delaney Hall, and also saw happen in Minneapolis, or just physically moving them out, saying you are basically saying you're done exercising your First Amendment rights at this point. We are now going to push you out of the area where you can stay coordinated and organized, and just out basically back to your vehicles, and you're done now. Hope you enjoyed your free speech while it lasted, because you're done exercising it. Seen them use those same tactics over and over and over again. That's why I say, if you've joined just for the chaos that has happened at New Jersey and becoming a status quo viewer and fan, and you had maybe paid attention to other outlets for some of these other crackdowns, let me tell you, what's happening in New Jersey is the same as what happened on the ground when you could see it up close in Minneapolis. It's the same as what happened when you could see it up close on the ground in Chicago, in LA, in DC, in these other cities that are being subject to the Trump administration's immigration invasions that it is committing with its paramilitary partisan ICE force that it has built up. These are the same patterns that play out each time, and you don't see these kinds of clips played, or to the extent that you do on mainstream news, when they get played, it's always like, oh, protesters clash with police, as if the protesters just willingly sprinted at the police and yelled charge or something, when in fact it's the police who are actively restricting the protesters and moving them and firing tear gas into them. When the police end up getting the tear gas canisters kicked into their ranks, it's because they're being kicked back by the protesters who are pushing the tear gas canisters back. But these are the kinds of things that are happening on a daily basis in New Jersey and in all of these other places. And that is why it's important to have an outlet like Status Quo that offers this unvarnished, on-the-ground look at what is happening. And if you agree with that, Jordan does the hard sell of I'm going to beg you. I do the soft sell of, hey, I'm a person. we're a team of small people, or a small team here at Status Coup. Please go to statuscoup.com/join. And if you can afford it, give us $5 a month. $5 every single month goes to support all of the efforts, all of that pain that we go through, all of the tens of thousands of dollars that we rack up in expenses to be able to do this on the ground reporting. You go to help offset that to build a truly people-powered news outlet. And you notice we don't do any ad reads. When we break here, it is just to like directly solicit money from you, which can, I don't know, maybe it can, I don't know if it feels annoying on your end. I'll say on my end, I get kind of self-conscious about it, but I feel a lot better about doing this and just asking you to support us in the mission that we do than I would if I now had to suddenly switch to an ad read and tell you what kind of soap to buy or what kind of paper towels are the best, or, you know, sell an underwear subscription service or whatever the hell a lot of outlets are doing these days. You never have to worry that my news, like the corporate media outlets, are, you know, going to have to worry. I'm never going to have to worry about what Big Pharma has to say about me reporting on the opioid epidemic. I'm never going to have to worry about what, you know, some corporate backers that might also be backing or have business in front of the Trump administration might be thinking about the coverage that we offer here at Status Coup, because it all comes from you. It all comes from you, our members. So if you are a member, you have my sincere and deepest gratitude. I really, really appreciate it. And I see Kenda Gates, who just said, y'all need to get like a panhandler jar and make a jingle. Yeah, after this, I'm going to go and perform on my street corner with my guitar case open. First, I got to learn how to play guitar, but that's the other revenue model that I'm working on here to really diversify and our funding model here at Status Coup. So, but short of that working, the statuscoup.com/join thing also seems to be working. So if you can, please go there and become a paying member. Colin, I think I'm going to start to wrap things here because we've been live for well over 2 hours at this point, and I'm running out of jokes that I can make to keep you all entertained. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job showcasing our coverage. This is where I would normally like tease forward to our coverage, the things that we are going to be doing. Oh, hey, I got to showcase $10 from Will Allen Dupras, our own William Allen Dupras, who said, "What's up, JT? Would love to hear your thoughts on the difference between video and still photos in reporting like this." Oh, well, Will, you know, a picture says 1,000 words, but a picture is just a single frame of video. So if you're asking me I want to, since I know that you do still photography, I just want to flex on you as a video journalist and say that video is a million times better. But I like, if I was being sincere, Will, if I was being sincere, and even though you're a member of our team as a freelancer, and by the way, Will, thank you so much for filling in for me and helping out John and Jordan out there in New Jersey. That's very much appreciated from my end. But if I was actually being serious to answer this question, I do think photos tend to exist as like a symbol of a moment, much more so than a clip usually does, right? So I think that photos become the symbols that people often rally around or maybe get connected to first, and then they seek out the video. So I think it actually becomes kind of like the gateway drug. And I'm actually to like follow. That's a terrible analogy to use here, but it for people to actually like get interested in a story, get hooked by a story, and brought in to the story, and then start to actually look up some of our coverage and actually like, hey, like I see this like photo carousel of Will Allen Dupras photos for Status Coup first gets me interested in like, oh, let me go check out more of their coverage, and oh, I like the things that they're saying in all of these reels that Michelle and Ty and Colin and everybody has been editing. And I like what this Jordan guy and this JT guy and this Will guy have to say on the mic. They seem to know what they're talking about. I'm going to give them a follow, and then I'm going to give them a follow. I'm going to support them financially, and then they're able to grow their team, and they're able to offer more coverage to get more people to see things from this truly people-powered version of news rather than the corporate side of news. So yeah, if you want my thoughts on the difference between video and still photos here, I think photos I think photos exist as like the symbols, and then video becomes the thing for people who want to go deeper on the coverage. So I think that everything kind of plays its part, that you're never going to see like print journalism fully go away. Photos will never stop being a relevant way to look at news. But Will, I've given you so much time here, my man. It's time for your comment to go away. Thank you, Will, for your $10, and thank you all who have become members to us here at Status Coup and have tuned in and listened to us talking. Since nobody else is giving super chats to keep me talking for any longer, this is where I think I'm going to start to draw things to a close. And I want to thank you all for being with us and listening to all of our original reporting. I should probably end with the thing that we led with, which was we had exclusive reporting here in this story, breaking down how Nick Sorter's reporting around the aid tent outside of Delaney Hall was absolute and complete bullshit. So I want to highlight that we went in depth on all of that in a way that you're not going to see on corporate press, who didn't even care. In fact, some corporate and conservative outlets just willfully amplified Nick Sorter's bullshit and Cam Higby's bullshit and reporting that they are offering from out there, whereas we actually dig a little bit deeper and try to find the facts here at Status Coup. Going beyond that, I also want to call out the fact that we are offering that exclusive reporting on the fact that Mikey Sherrill's government, at least the AG's office, is actively coordinating with ICE, and it would also, in fact, be the governor as well. I guess I don't know in New Jersey. I wish Jordan was still on, since he lives there and he's a little bit closer to the story as well, to be sure that the governor is ultimately in charge of the state police out there, as well as it is in Illinois, Wisconsin, where I live, and then Minnesota, where we saw all these things play out. But yeah, where we're seeing those Democratic elected officials, regardless, elected Democrats, be in charge of the police response that is then also coordinating with ICE and with the Trump administration to make all of this happen. I want to welcome new Status Coup member, Gene Breaking Kind. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member, Gene. We really appreciate having you here. It's that sustained membership that goes a long way. Don't ever be afraid to call out the fact that, when you become resubscribed for another month, don't feel free to let us know about that as well, so we can continuously thank you for your ongoing support. We really appreciate that. I did want to throw up one comment here from Robin, who said, JT, what do you think about ICE targeting press? I think that if from a cynical view, from the Trump administration's perspective, it makes complete logical sense, right? You've already got your propaganda channels that you can use to funnel the news that you want to your base. You don't want the press to, like, the press is already showing, to the extent that they do, showing what ICE is doing in these places. So may as well try and make it as uncomfortable as possible for the press to be covering these stories, make it as difficult as possible. Like, that's why they're going. But if you're asking me, like, how do I feel about it morally as a person? Yeah, it's fucking abhorrent. The fact that they are able to do this and think that they can get away with it in the long term, though there have been lawsuits, and we saw one play out in Chicago over a long period that actually put real restraints on what the Trump administration, it was ultimately that lawsuit that really pulled back the Trump administration from Chicago, because they lost access to a lot of their favorite toys, like the use of tear gas on communities out there in Chicago, by order of a judge who was was hearing a case brought by, in part, journalists who were being brutalized out there. So yeah, no one should be abusing the free press. We are out there showing what is happening, or at least we should be accurately showing what is happening. You would hope more outlets would be doing what we are doing here at Status Coup. But yeah, it's fucking abhorrent. That's my thoughts on it. Doesn't go deeper than that. I don't think you have to think about it deeper than that. Thank you all. Thank you all for being with us here. I really appreciate you watching along for all of our coverage. and continue to tune in here. This is, as I was saying earlier, this is normally where I would tease ahead, but hopefully John takes a break tonight. Otherwise, if he absolutely insists on going back out there, we would be live again outside of Delaney Hall tonight. And if we're not live tonight, I imagine we will be tomorrow, and maybe I will be out there by the time tomorrow night rolls around. We shall see. We're playing it one day at a time for whether or not I'm going out there at this point. Otherwise, I am working, if I don't get sucked out there, I've been working on a lot of exclusive reporting around data centers and some of the hyperscale data center projects that are being planned in various parts of the country. You can watch for those to drop relatively soon. So if you've been wondering, where's JT right now? I was working on that governor's forum here in Wisconsin for the labor unions and for working people out here. And then also on these investigative projects around data centers. So that's where I've been doing the occasional direct to camera video that has been that we've been putting out as well, but not so much live stuff because I've been working on those other things. So look for all of that stuff to drop in the very near future. On behalf of myself and everybody here at Status Coup, thank you for being with us. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching along for all of our coverage and getting that real on the ground perspective. Until next time, stay safe and good night.